Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night and found your cat sleeping next to you? Maybe on your chest, between your legs, or right next to your pillow? Most people look at this scene and think exactly the same thing. How cute, he just wants affection. But what if I told you that this moment goes far beyond a gesture of affection? What if, while you sleep completely distracted, your cat is making one of the most important decisions of the day? A decision that involves trust, survival, and a bond that few people can truly understand. There's a curious detail about cats that almost no one notices. They rarely show what they feel in an obvious way. Instead, they communicate through small choices. They choose a specific spot on the bed. They choose a time to approach. They choose a sleeping position. And above all, they choose who they'll be next to when they finally close their eyes. To us, all this seems like just routine. For a cat, however, each of these choices has meaning. It's a silent language that happens every night right before our eyes, and that most owners spend their entire lives without learning to interpret. Today you'll discover 6 messages your cat might be trying to convey whenever it decides to sleep near you. Some reveal a level of trust that defies thousands of years of instinct. Others may indicate emotional changes that almost no one notices in time. And one of them may even act as an early warning sign of health problems before any obvious symptoms appear. Because what seems like just a peaceful nap could be the most important conversation it has ever tried to have with you. The place where your cat sleeps is never a random choice. If there were a warmer place than you, your cat would find it in seconds. They're experts at it. A ray of sunshine streaming through the window, a forgotten blanket on the sofa, a still warm appliance, all of this immediately catches their attention. So why, even with so many comfortable options around the house, does your cat insist on sleeping right next to you? This question seems simple, but the answer completely changes how we view this behavior. Because for a cat, comfort and security don't always mean the same thing. And there's a huge difference between seeking warmth and choosing a person. While a human closes their eyes to rest, a cat does the exact opposite of what its instincts dictate. In nature, sleeping means giving up the only thing that can keep it alive: constant vigilance. During sleep, its reflexes diminish, its senses become less alert, and its ability to react to danger drops drastically. This is precisely why wild felines choose their resting places with almost obsessive care. They seek height, escapee routes, and places where they can spot any threat before it approaches. When a domestic cat decides to abandon all these possibilities to sleep next to a person dozens of times its size, it is not just seeking company. It is doing something much deeper. It is saying, without uttering a single sound, "As long as I am completely defenseless, I believe you won't hurt me." And this is exactly where most cat owners make a mistake without realizing it. The cat finally finds a comfortable position, relaxes its body, closes its eyes, and a few seconds later, someone decides to pick it up, change its position, or shower it with affection. It seems like a demonstration of love, but for the cat, it may mean that that place is no longer predictable. Cats value environments where they can relax without surprises. The more you respect this moment of rest, the stronger the bond between you tends to become. And this leads us to an even more surprising discovery. Because sleeping next to you isn't the only way to say you trust someone. Even before closing its eyes, your cat performs a small ritual that almost no one notices. And this ritual reveals who you really are in its world. The invisible ritual that happens before your cat goes to sleep. Pay attention to what your cat does in the last few seconds before finally settling down. It rests its forehead on your hand. It rubs its cheek against your arm. It slowly runs its face across your pillow or brushes its body against the blankets. It seems like just a loving, almost automatic gesture. But in reality, you're witnessing one of the most important behaviors in feline communication. The problem is that it happens so quietly and naturally that most people don't even notice. While you interpret it as a simple caress, your cat is doing something much more significant. Around their face, chin, and head, cats have glands that release chemicals imperceptible to us. These scents aren't just for marking territory. As many people believe, they also help build a collective identity. In groups of cats that live in harmony, sharing the same scent means sharing trust. It's a silent way of recognizing who belongs to the same circle of security. When your cat rubs its head against you before bed, it's not just leaving its scent on your skin. In a way, it's saying, "You are part of my world. You belong to the place where I feel safe." It's a gesture of inclusion, not ownership. Now think about what happens when you arrive home after spending hours in another environment. You hugged other people, went into other places, used different perfumes, or carried completely new scents. Often, your cat immediately comes to sniff your clothes, your hands, and even your face. Some people believe he's just curious. In reality, he's checking if that you is still the same as before. And that's why sometimes he insists on rubbing his head against you again right afterward. It's not insistence. It's a way of rebuilding what, for him, represents family. But there's another even more curious behavior. After marking you as someone safe, many cats choose a specific spot on the bed to sleep, and that spot is almost never chosen by chance. The place where your cat sleeps may reveal the mission he undertook during the night. There's a question almost no one asks, but it completely changes how we interpret cat behavior. Why does your cat always choose the same spot on the bed? Maybe he sleeps at your feet every night. Maybe he prefers the pillow right above your head. Or maybe he nestles perfectly against your back, as if that were the only possible space. Most people believe this happens simply out of comfort or habit. But if it were just comfort, any soft spot would do. So why does he repeat the exact same position night after night, as if following an invisible pattern? Although they live indoors, cats have never completely abandoned the instincts that ensured their survival for thousands of years. In nature, resting never meant completely switching off their attention. Even during sleep, each position was chosen to offer some advantage, to better see an entrance, to hear movements around them, or to react quickly if danger arose. This instinct still exists. That's why many cats prefer to sleep facing the bedroom door, near the hallway, or in places where they can observe who enters and leaves. Others choose to stay near your head, where they can more easily perceive your breathing and any movement of your body, and those who sleep at your feet usually occupy a strategic area, maintaining contact with you while remaining attentive to their environment. But there's one detail that deserves even more attention. If 4 months or even years your cat has always chosen the same place to sleep and suddenly abandons this habit completely, it's worth carefully observing what has changed. This doesn't always mean there's a problem, but abrupt changes in behavior rarely happen without reason. Sometimes the explanation is simple. A piece of furniture was changed, a new animal arrived at home, or the family's routine changed. In other situations, however, this change may be the first sign that something is wrong, and there's one behavior in particular that many owners confuse with independence, when in fact it may be one of the most silent cries for help a cat is capable of making. That's exactly what we're going to talk about next. When your cat stops sleeping with you, he's trying to tell you something. Imagine this situation. For years, every night was the same. You turned off the light, settled into bed, and a few minutes later, your cat appeared. He had a favorite spot, a seemingly unchanging ritual. But without warning, this habit disappears. One night he chooses to sleep in another room. The next, he hides under the bed. Then he spends the whole night inside the wardrobe or behind the sofa. The most common reaction is to think he must just be tired of the bed. After all, cats are unpredictable, right? Not always. In fact, cats are much more faithful to their routines than most people imagine. And when such an important routine is suddenly broken, it's worth paying attention. Cats rarely show pain in the way we expect. They don't usually whine or seek help in an obvious way. On the contrary, instinct makes them hide any sign of weakness as much as possible. In nature, a sick animal attracts the attention of predators and rivals. That's why many cats prefer to isolate themselves when something is wrong. The owner believes that the cat just wants to be alone, when in reality, it may be trying to protect itself. Joint problems, back pain, kidney disease, urinary changes, and even dental discomfort can cause a cat to abandon a place it once loved. Not because it has stopped trusting you, but because getting on the bed, changing position, or simply staying there has become painful. Before assuming your cat has become cold, distant, or less affectionate, ask yourself a much more important question. What changed in his life? Observe if he continues to eat normally, if he's using the litter box as usual, if he still plays, jumps, and moves easily. Sometimes, the only clue that something is wrong is precisely a small change in his sleep routine. And the sooner this sign is noticed, the greater the chances of solving the problem before it becomes serious. But there's another detail that almost no one notices. Even when they continue to sleep next to you, cats may be revealing how they feel through the way they position their body. And some of these positions say much more than any meow could. Before we continue, let me ask you a question. How many of these things had you already noticed in your cat's behavior? The truth is, most owners live with these signs for years without imagining what they really mean. So, if this video has already made you see your cat in a completely different way, take this opportunity to like and subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss the next videos, where we'll reveal other fascinating behaviors that almost no one can interpret. And if you know someone who loves cats, share this video with them. You can help them understand the messages their cat tries to convey every day without saying a single word. The position your cat sleeps in can reveal much more than you imagine. Tonight, before turning off the light, do something different. Instead of just looking at your cat, observe the shape its body forms while it sleeps. It seems like an unimportant detail, but that's exactly where many signals go unnoticed. A cat doesn't relax its body in the same way in every situation. The position it chooses is influenced by the environment, the level of trust it feels, and, in some cases, its own state of health. The curious thing is that two cats can appear to be sleeping in the same way, when, in fact, they are transmitting completely different messages. The difference lies in the small details that almost no one learns to see. When a cat lies completely stretched out, showing part of its belly or letting its paws relax, it is demonstrating a level of tranquility that is difficult to achieve. It doesn't mean it wants belly rubs, that's a very common mistake. It simply means that at that moment, it believes there is no immediate threat around. A cat that sleeps close to you, matching the rhythm of your breathing, usually seeks more than just physical comfort. It uses your presence as a reference point for security. Now, there is a position that deserves special attention. When the body remains excessively rigid, the head is lowered, the back arched, and the cat seems unable to fully relax, even while resting. This posture may indicate that it is trying to protect a painful area of its body. It's not an automatic conclusion, but it's a sign that should never be ignored if accompanied by other changes. The most important thing is not to analyze a single night, but to perceive patterns over time. You know your cat better than anyone. You know how he usually sleeps, where he prefers to stay, and what habits he repeats every day. It is precisely this knowledge that becomes a powerful tool. When a behavior changes suddenly and remains different for several days, the cat itself is offering valuable information even before the symptoms become evident. And there's something even more impressive. While you believe that only you know his routine, your cat has also spent years studying every detail of your routine, perhaps much more than you imagine. While you're watching your cat, he's watching you too. There's a very common idea that we study our cats. We learn their eating times, recognize the meow that means hunger, understand when they want to play, and even know their favorite place to rest. But the truth is that this observation works both ways. While you believe you know your cat's routine perfectly, it has spent years memorizing yours. The sound of your footsteps around the house, the time you usually turn off the lights, the way you breathe when you fall asleep, the moment you wake up, even before the alarm clock rings. None of this goes unnoticed by an animal that has survived for thousands of years, paying attention to the smallest details of its environment. That's why many cats seem to appear exactly when you're sad, anxious, or emotionally upset. They may not understand the reasons for what you're feeling, but they perfectly perceive that something has changed. Their posture becomes different. Their movements become slower. Their voice loses its usual rhythm, and even small signs from their body change without you noticing. Many owners say that on the most difficult days, their cat stayed near them for hours without asking for food, without wanting to play, just staying there. Coincidence? Science is still investigating the extent of this perception, but one thing is undeniable. Cats are excellent observers of patterns. When your routine changes, they notice. When their routine changes, it's up to you to notice too. That's how a relationship of trust works. Both learn to read each other's signals, even without exchanging a single word. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Throughout this video, we talked about sleeping positions, smells, habits, instincts, and signals that many people ignore. But at its core, it all points to a single truth. Your cat doesn't choose to sleep near you by chance. Every night, it makes a silent choice based on what it feels when it's by your side. If it keeps returning to your bed night after night, it's because that place represents security. It represents predictability. It represents peace. And that's one of the greatest gifts such an independent animal can offer. So the next time your cat climbs onto the bed and settles down beside you, resist the urge to think it's just another ordinary night. Perhaps, without saying a single word, it's giving the greatest compliment a cat can give a human being. Cats never needed to learn our language to create a deep connection with us. They found another way to communicate, a way made of small choices, repeated routines, and almost imperceptible gestures. The problem is that, for a long time, we were taught to believe that cats are too mysterious to be understood. Today, you discovered that the mystery isn't in them. It's in the fact that almost no one has learned to observe the signals they have always sent. Starting tonight, try looking at your cat in a different way. Observe where it chooses to sleep. Notice how it approaches you. Take note of any sudden changes in its habits. Not every change means a problem, but every change deserves your attention. The more you know about your companion's natural behavior, the easier it becomes to notice when something is out of the ordinary. And often, this simple observation can further strengthen the bond between you or even lead to the discovery of a problem before it becomes serious. Now I want to hear from you. Dot. Where does your cat usually sleep? At your feet? Near your head? Leaning against your back? Or does he have a completely different spot? Tell us in the comments, because every cat has its own personality, and your experience can help others better understand their companions too. If this video made you see your cat in a new light, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who loves cats as much as you do. Sometimes information that seems like just a curiosity today can make all the difference tomorrow. After all, whoever learns to listen to a cat's silence discovers that it was never truly silent.